This winter's been pretty brutal. It's been really slowing me down. I was hoping to be done about a month ago, but it's just constantly snowed, and last month has just been really, really wet and rainy, and it's just couldn't do anything for a long time. But I'm hoping now that the weather is going to change. It looks like it's getting better, it's starting to switch over. Can finally get everything up here and finish this off, finally do what I have to do and get it out of the way. At this point, I don't know what's going to happen. I may get caught right away. Basically, if I get caught, I'm just going to shoot myself. So, I mean, I could basically be dead in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I don't know. It's all up to chance at this point. So, I don't think anyone knows where I'm at. But if they put it together, who knows? At this point, I have to take that chance. So, it's just going to be a point of, go as far as I can. I do have my escape, and that's death. I can always shoot myself, and I'm okay with that. So I'm getting to the point where just trying to live and pay bills and live as a civilian and go to work, that just freaks me out. It's actually more comfortable for me to think about living out here, robbing banks, pharmacies, just taking what I want for as long as I can. At least it'll be exciting. It won't be boring. And I don't have to worry about Lynette or Kayleen. And everything will be taken care of. It'll just be me. So.
The footage you see on the screen may be some of the most disturbing footage ever recorded, and also one that raises serious concerns. At first glance, the footage looks quite ordinary. A man is engaged in his hobby on weekends, keeping a popular YouTube blog, where he builds various structures and shelters in the forest. This is quite common and even harmless hobby, which attracts the attention of numerous viewers around the world. However, alarming, strange, and ambiguous phrases that periodically come off the lips of this man. It seems that behind the mask of a harmless hobby hides something much more sinister. It becomes clear that the true scale of the terrible plans of this mysterious character exceeds everything that can be assumed, based only on his usual conversations in front of the camera. This video is about Peter Keller, the 41-year-old head of a seemingly well-to-do family. Peter has a wife, Lynette, and 18-year-old daughter, Kellen, who at first glance give the impression of the most ordinary, happy people. But behind this facade of family well-being hides a chilling mystery. As it turned out that shortly before the graduation of his daughter from high school, Peter began to methodically keep video diaries, in which his wife and daughter, Kellen, also took an active part. The girl herself noted that these recordings unexpectedly helped her to open up, despite her usually reserved character of a teenager. While the head of the family worked as a computer repairman, his wife Lynette struggled with serious medical problems, which prevented her from working full-time. The woman made and sold paper flowers at local fairs to support the family budget. At first glance, it was just a family facing life's challenges, but trying to stick together and overcome adversity. Behind that facade, however, lurks something much more sinister. Let's get to the bottom of it. Careful analysis of the available data from the investigation leads to a shocking discovery. Peter Keller turned out to be a talented, self-taught engineer who himself built an impressive underground structure in the woods called Camp Keller. It was a carefully camouflaged bunker equipped with everything necessary for autonomous living. The man claimed that he had dreamed of a home underground since childhood and eventually managed to realize this long-held dream of his. But what else do we know about Peter that led him to this point? Peter Keller was born on February 5, 1967, to a seemingly ordinary family. He grew up in the small town of North Bend and spent much of his early life surrounded by the lush green forests and serene landscapes of the Pacific Northwest. Friends and acquaintances described him as a closed and introverted man who showed no signs of the darkness that would eventually consume him. However, there was a sinister undercurrent growing beneath the surface that would eventually lead to shocking violence. Over the years, Peter Keller's behavior began to change. Friends and family noticed that he retreated from social activities and became increasingly immersed in end-of-the-world scenarios and paranoid ideas. His obsession with doomsday preparations took a dark turn, culminating in an underground bunker that would eventually become the scene of a horrific crime. Peter openly expressed his consuming fear of the impending apocalypse, a fear that ultimately drove him to do terrible things. He made no secret of the fact that he didn't know what would happen next and that he could be caught at any moment. Peter talked about the possibility of his death in 2 or 3 weeks, realizing that everything depended on chance. He didn't think anyone knew where he was, but he also didn't rule out that he could be found. Peter was frank about his plan to just try to live, paying his bills and pretending to be a normal citizen. But at the same time, he was more comfortable with the thought of robbing banks, drugstores, and taking whatever he wanted, enjoying this exciting and not boring lifestyle without worrying about laws and responsibilities. His frank confessions indicated that he had a serious depressive disorder. It was obvious that Peter had been thinking a lot about suicide, and his thoughts were causing him great anxiety. Perhaps his cryptic statements hinted that his fantasies had a much darker aspect to them than he himself had indicated. Peter's comments about wanting to live 10 years in the woods only served to complicate an already troubling situation. He was saying that he was 40 years old and running out of time, and he didn't even question it. Peter admitted that everything made so much sense to him now, and he didn't feel bad about it, just accepting what was happening. These statements from Peter did support the theory that he was suffering from a major depressive disorder. His reflections that he felt depressed were also indicative of this.
Just couldn't do anything for a long time, but I'm hoping now that the weather's going to change. It looks like it's getting better. It's starting to switch over. Can finally get everything up here and finish this off, finally do what I have to do and get it out of the way. At this point, I don't know what's going to happen. I may get caught right away. Basically, if I get caught, I'm just going to shoot myself. So, I mean, I could basically be dead in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I don't know. It's all up to chance at this point. So, I don't think anyone knows where I'm at. But if they put it together, who knows? At this point, I have to take that chance. So, it's just going to be a point of, go as far as I can. I do have my escape, and that's death. I can always shoot myself, and I'm okay with that. So I'm getting to the point where just trying to live and pay bills and live as a civilian and go to work, it just freaks me out. It's actually more comfortable for me to think about living out here, robbing banks, pharmacies, just taking what I want for as long as I can. At least it'll be exciting. It won't be boring. And I don't have to worry about Lynette or Kayleen. And everything will be taken care of. It'll just be me. So today we got probably about a 55-pound pack. Today we're hauling up a 55-pound pack, basically a big bottle full of beans that's about 45 pounds, and some wine making stuff, and then just the weight of the gun in the pack. So a little lighter than what I have been doing. Doing pretty good. Really got a lot of stuff up. I mean, basically I can last months up here without ever leaving. I've got propane, gasoline, food, soap, all supplies. So really set right now. This winter has been, just to show just how brutal it was. Well, we had a big ice storm. This is one of the trees that's fallen down over the trail. Kind of another one over there. Just a lot of damage. Branches down everywhere. makes it a little more difficult to get through, but I don't want to move it. I'd like to keep it as hard to get through here so nobody will come out here. Well, before, a while ago, I used to sit here and think, this whole thing is just crazy at times, and then I'd think about it and it would make sense, and it's like, okay, this is what I got to do. But now, I guess with time, I just think that way all the time, that this is what I got to do. I don't even question it anymore. It just seems like everything makes so much sense now. Just the more I've thought about it, the more I understand it. I don't really feel bad about it. It's just the way it is.
A haze was enveloping the trees of the Pacific Northwest when Elizabeth and Sarah Keller died in the early hours of April 22, 2012. Peter Keller, husband and father of the family, methodically massacred them with his gun within the walls of their own home. The brutality of these murders shocked everyone who knew the family. Peter was considered a good-natured, quiet man working as an accountant. What happened that could have driven him to such a terrible crime? After committing the double murder, Peter quickly fled into the dense woods surrounding the house. Shortly thereafter, a fire broke out in the house, although its cause remained unclear. Arriving firefighters, acting at the risk of their own lives, rushed inside, but found no trace of Peter. It was obvious that he had skillfully hidden in the impenetrable forest, evading initial attempts to catch him. The authorities immediately launched a large-scale search, throwing all possible resources into it. But Peter seemed to disappear into the dark spruce forests and hollows. The investigation reached a dead end until Peter's car was found abandoned in the city center. The keys were left inside, and co-workers at work reported that he had left and might not be back. Detectives also discovered that Peter had withdrawn $6,000 from an account shortly before. All indications were that Peter had either fled to save his life or was in mortal danger himself. A search of the Kellers' home brought luck to the police. They found a hard drive containing Peter's video diaries. These recordings became a key piece of evidence in the case. A former sergeant who had previously investigated similar disappearances shared his unconventional approach to finding Peter. Detectives studied photos taken by Keller during the construction of the secret shelter. The images helped narrow the search to an area within 10 miles of certain landmarks. Matching this information to Peter's usual parking spot for the car, police began combing the area. 6 days of intense searching through the dense woods, but Keller's hideout was never found. Peter Keller seemed to disappear into the fog of the northwestern wilderness.
Well, this is the end of the day. I'm getting wrapped up, getting ready to leave. I don't know if you can see me, but kind of one last look at everything. That's my fireplace, wood stove, whatever. Pretty dark. Now we're going upstairs. This is where most of my supplies are. Pretty well stocked up. My window. Looking down on the wood stove. And that pretty much wraps it up for the day. So I've been up here about 7 hours. That includes hike time and work time. pretty exhausting, a lot of work, a lot of hard work. So it'll take me about an hour to get back. Use up what little energy I have left. And then I get to start the 2-day recovery process.
A thorough search in the impenetrable forests of the Northwest finally yielded results. The observers noticed smoke rising from the trees in the distance. Could this be Peter Keller's hideout? Detectives moved cautiously in that direction, fearing that Peter might have taken hostages. Surveillance footage found in the house pointed to that possibility. As the police got closer, they found a makeshift chimney releasing smoke from underground, so they were on the right track. But what awaited them inside? The SWAT team tried to contact Peter, but there was no answer. Suddenly, there was the sound of gunshots. Perhaps the hostages were trying to free themselves. There was no way to risk their lives. The SWAT fighters threw a tear grenade inside, hoping to force those who were hiding to come out. But after that, there was silence. There was no time to delay. When the assault team burst into the hideout, they found a horrific sight. Peter Keller was lying on the floor with a gunshot wound to the head. He had killed himself. Apparently, Peter never waited for help and decided to end his life. He may have planned it from the beginning, trying to realize his youthful dream of living in a forest bunker. The tragic ending of Peter Keller's story was a terrible reminder of how destructive the dark side of the human psyche can become, hidden behind the outer shell of everyday life. This sad story should encourage society to pay more attention to mental health issues and the importance of supporting each other in times of need to prevent such terrible consequences in the future.